lovely to be back here. I hope all of you agree as well. It's lovely to have our numbers augmented this morning by Jenny and Eddie and Alfie. So we really appreciate your contribution to the service, whatever it might be. So Jenny, you can misbehave if you wanted. Particularly glad to have Jill with us leading the service. Wasn't easy preparing the service when you didn't know whether it was going to be here or through Zoom, so thank you for being prepared for either. And we really look forward to the angels visiting us. At least I assume they're going in all directions, including this way when they've done all their main jobs. Next week it will be Graham leading the service with communion. A reminder that if you have anything to contribute to the newsletter, the deadline is Wednesday. And then just a few reminders about procedure. Now that we're in Tier 3, it's almost the same as before, but they do emphasise that there mustn't be mingling between households. So please don't be tempted at the end of the service to get up and go and greet somebody. You're not meant to mingle in the church grounds either, but you can greet each other in groups of 6 outside but spread out. So we don't want a mass of people all together outside. And a reminder that the toilet, the further toilet is available down that way, whichever way. If you're using a hymn book, can you just leave it on your seat afterwards, and then it will be left there for at least 3 days, so there's no risk there. And just one other thing, Mike will be sending out more information this afternoon, which will include details of all the other services which are planned for Christmas, and will include what we've decided to do about giving, because this would normally have been a gift service and children would have brought toys, etc., etc. We're having to make different arrangements this year. So thank you, Jill. Over to you.
It's going to be Liz starting our service this morning. Well, I think Liz, maybe with Jenny and Alfie and Eddie as well, to light the Advent candles, the first 2, because we weren't here last week. So you get 2 candles, and then you'll be saying a prayer after that. And then following that, we'll be having the Lord's Prayer, but because it's going to be a lot of music today in the service, it's going to be a Caribbean version of the Lord's Prayer. And an apology, all the music should be absolutely fine this morning, but YouTube is misbehaving and there is no video for the hymns and carols, which is why you've got a hymn book for 2 of them. And the others, you'll just have to listen carefully, and if you know the words, come along. Anyway, over to you.
I think 2 have been the 2 nearest you.
Elizabeth knows.
This one? Yeah. No. Doesn't matter.
No harder.
No.
Step on it.
A candle burns, the second marker of our Advent journey. As we continue, may we travel faithfully. As we continue, God of journeys, speak to us. Amen.
And now, two verses from Hebrews to give a flavour of what lies ahead. Keep on loving one another as Christian brothers and sisters. Remember to welcome strangers in your homes. There were some who did that and welcomed angels without knowing it. Now, I think, if you don't mind, I'd quite like at least for a couple of hymns to stand up. So if you're willing to stand up with me, you're really going to have to use your imagination. There are absolutely beautiful videos as well as the words that you're not going to see up on the wall. So just create them in your head. But if you would like to actually hum or sing in your head the words, the first one is angel voices ever ringing, ever singing actually, and then they're ringing later. Number 405. So please stand to join in spirit or in voice, quietly. angels. I'd like you to picture in your mind what an angel looks like. Mark has found a few images of angels that are now up on the wall. How can I see them? Who likes best angels see? You have to put your hands up if you like it. I don't like Angel C best, but I know Mike does. What about Angel G? It's obviously in the genes, G. What about Angel E? Or should I say angels? Nobody likes the cherubs? Oh. What about Angel F? What about you, Sienna? Which one do you like? Yes? I'll let you into secret. That's the one I don't like at all. Sorry, Sienna. The answer, of course, is that we actually have no idea at all what angels look like. Like the idea of angels with wings and halos. But we don't know. The dictionary definition is that angels are messengers from God. They are recorded as appearing with with frequency, regularly, all the way through the Bible. They do turn up with surprising frequency, though, in the year before Jesus is born. Now, maybe it's not so surprising. It does take something pretty drastic to convince people to accept something which is so surprising and life-changing, and in some cases, possibly unwelcome, as the news that the angel was bringing to 3 individuals in 1st century. Not that they actually knew it was the 1st century then, because Jesus wasn't yet born, but in 1st century Palestine. The first of these visits was to an elderly priest who was at work in the temple in Jerusalem. I've asked David to read this one, not because he's particularly old, but because I thought he'd do a very good job of it.
So this is from the first chapter of Luke. The birth of John the Baptist is announced. During the time when Herod was king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah, who belonged to the priestly order of Abijah. His wife's name was Elizabeth. She also belonged to a priestly family. They both lived good lives in God's sight and obeyed fully all the Lord's laws and commands. They had no children because Elizabeth could not have any, and she and Zechariah were both very old. One day, Zechariah was doing his work as a priest in the temple, taking his turn in the daily service. According to the custom followed by the priests, he was chosen by lot to burn incense on the altar. So he went into the temple of the Lord, while the crowd of people outside prayed during the hour when the incense was burned. The angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing on the right of the altar where the incense was burned. When Zechariah saw him, he was alarmed and felt afraid. But the angel said to him, "Don't be afraid, Zechariah. God has heard your prayer, and your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son. You are to name him John. How glad and happy you will be, and how happy many others will be when he's born. He will be a great man in the Lord's sight. He must not drink any wine or strong drink. From his very birth he will be filled with the Holy Spirit. Zechariah said to the angel, "How shall I know if this is so? I am old, I'm an old man, and my wife is also old." "I am Gabriel," the angel answered. "I stand in the presence of God, who sent me to speak to you and tell you this good news." Amen.
The next angelic visitation we hear about first in a much-loved carol. This beautiful version of the angel Gabriel from Heaven Came is sung by a favourite group of Mike's, which is the Botches 8. Other people may like them as well. Thank you, Mike. Vicky will read us the story, also from Luke.